Emmerdale spoilers for next week, August 4th to 8th, 2025, tease that Ray's grip on Dylan is deeper and more vicious than anyone around him realizes. Dylan, barely more than a boy, shakes as blood pours from his injured leg, the result of Kyle's impulsive pitchfork strike. It's not the pain itself that worries April most, it's the way Dylan cowers, terrified, as if more afraid of someone finding out than the injury itself. When he insists they can't go to the doctor, panic creeps into April's voice. Desperate to help, she suggests the only place she can think of, the vet. They sneak in under the cover of dusk, the lights of the village dimming behind them. Inside, Dylan winces with each step as April helps him up onto a table. The sanctuary is short-lived. Paddy, checking in late after hours, stumbles upon the scene. For a moment, he's speechless. But April's pleading eyes and Dylan's ghostly pale face push him into action. With a nod, he treats the wound as best he can and offers Dylan a place to rest for the night. The next morning, the truth begins to unravel. Paddy, burdened with the secret, confides in Mandy and Marlon. He speaks carefully, each word like a dropped stone in water, rippling outward. Dylan, he explains, hasn't just been keeping secrets, he's been carrying a weight far heavier than any teenager should bear. Ray has ensnared him, drawing him into dangerous work. Dylan finally admits there was a stash, a bag of drugs, hidden deep within his belongings. When Ray sends another message, Dylan ignores it, choosing silence over submission. But it's not without cost. As the villagers put the pieces together, Paddy, Marlon, and Rona are shaken to their core. The boy they tried to shelter is the very same figure Kyle attacked. The irony is suffocating. But Dylan, riddled with guilt, takes on a burden that isn't his. To shield April from blame, he delivers the drugs anyway. His face blank, as if watching himself from outside his body. Behind closed doors, a debate rages. Rona, usually the moral compass, considers telling Moira the truth about Dylan. Paddy and Marlon beg her not to. Their loyalty to Dylan outweighs their sense of justice, if only by a thread. Meanwhile, Dylan finds unexpected reprieve when Ray appears oddly forgiving, unbothered by Dylan turning down another job. But the relief is short-lived. He overhears Paddy and Marlon speaking of what he did at Butler's farm, and the shame hits like a punch to the gut. Across the village, the tension shifts. Robert Sugden, having returned quietly, shares a tense reunion with Aaron Dingle. Their encounter is wrapped in unresolved longing and bitter memory. John Sugden, witnessing the subtle glances and strained words, pulls Aaron aside. His advice is gentle but firm: don't be so quick to burn bridges. In the awkward quiet of the corner shop, the three collide. John departs swiftly, leaving Robert and Aaron alone amid the hum of refrigerators and clinking coin trays. When Robert half jokes about leaving Emmerdale for good, Aaron startles himself with how quickly he responds. "You matter," he says. Simple words, but they hang in the air, electric with possibilities. For Robert, it's a thread of hope, maybe the only one he has left. Moira, meanwhile, is less forgiving. She confronts Robert over land she believes rightfully hers. The conversation escalates until Victoria intervenes, cooling the exchange. Later, as they walk together, Robert proposes a different future, one where he and Victoria manage the field of their late grandmother, Annie. The past, painful as it is, might still grow something new. Elsewhere, Vinnie Dingle battles an internal storm. Gabby Thomas, unaware of the turmoil, plans their future with meticulous cheer. When Commie Haddock offers Vinnie a wedding gift, a sleek, silver watch. Vinnie laughs politely, but something in his eyes betrays him. Commie leans over a table later, picking up a crumb, and Vinnie watches, a flicker of longing breaking through his practiced smile. The following day, Aaron finds Vinnie pacing. They talk. Aaron, vulnerable in a way he rarely allows, admits he kissed Robert on his wedding day. Vinny's startled. Aaron shrugs it off. People get nervous before weddings. Vinny nods, then slowly confesses he tried to kiss someone, but not who. The unsaid word is heavy in the room. Aaron senses it, doesn't press, but his support is palpable. Still, he warns Vinny not to tell Gabby, yet. The conversation leaves Vinny shaken. That night, alone, he searches online, looking for answers that he hopes will tell him who he really is. Meanwhile, the story takes a romantic yet precarious turn for Ross Barton and Steph. Ruby Milligan and Lewis Barton orchestrate a meeting, urging Steph to give Ross another chance. When her car mysteriously breaks down, Lewis ensures Ross is the one to offer her a ride to therapy. It's awkward at first. The air between them is filled with unspoken history, but as the drive continues, laughter returns. By the time they reach her appointment, Steph is smiling. Back at Mill Cottage, the rekindled flame burns brighter. Steph suggests they not sleep in separate rooms tonight. Ross, hesitant, insists he hasn't been with anyone else since they split. The camera, however, lingers. Viewers know the truth. Manpreet Sharma, despite her own tangled life, shared a night with Ross not long ago. Ruby and Lewis later dine with Manpreet. The topic of Ross comes up. Manpreet, clutching her wine glass a little too tightly, debates internally. Say something and risk destroying Ross's new shot at happiness, or stay silent and let a lie build its foundation. While this brews, Mackenzie Boyd and Charity take a rare, peaceful stroll through the forest. It ends suddenly. Charity stumbles, hits the ground hard. She brushes it off, but the concern in Mac's face doesn't fade. Returning home, she masks the pain, putting on a brave face for Sarah Sugden, who's anxiously awaiting news about her embryo transfer. Charity chooses silence, not wanting to add to Sarah's stress. She tries to channel the worry into something positive, a surprise engagement party for Sarah and Jacob. Woolpack buzzes with energy. Decorations go up, laughter fills the rooms. But in the middle of it all, Charity makes a beeline for the bathroom. Her hands tremble as she lifts her skirt. Blood. A whisper of dread. She turns to Vanessa Woodfield, confiding what she feared to admit: something's wrong. The party continues outside, but inside that stall, Charity's world shifts. The night darkens in Emmerdale, secrets brewing in every corner. Truths untold, desires unspoken, and choices made in the name of love, loyalty, and survival. The village breathes with tension, waiting for the moment it will all unravel. Tensions linger in the air like morning mist, never fully dissipating. Dylan begins to navigate village life with a newfound sense of freedom, but the scars of Ray's control do not fade easily. Though Ray has vanished, Dylan jumps at sudden noises and avoids alleyways. April remains by his side, her resolve firmer than ever. She's no longer just the schoolgirl tagging along, she's his anchor. But the weight of everything Dylan has done, and nearly done, haunts them both. Paddy arranges for Dylan to start part-time work at the vet clinic, keeping him close and under watchful eyes. Rona's initial hesitations soften, as she sees how seriously Dylan takes his duties. When a stray dog is brought in after being injured by a trap, Dylan insists on staying late to watch over it. Rona notices something that surprises her: empathy, the kind born from lived experience. It shifts something within her. But Kyle, still reeling from their violent encounter, remains wary. Moira encourages him to talk it out with Dylan, though Kane's silence signals he'd prefer his son stay cautious. The meeting is tense but honest. Dylan apologizes, not just for the pain, but for what Kyle was forced to do. Kyle, mature beyond his years, nods. They don't shake hands, but they don't walk away angry either. It's a start. Meanwhile, Robert and Aaron try to figure out what they are to each other now. Late nights blur into early mornings at the scrapyard, where conversations are slow and filled with meaning between silences. Robert doesn't push, but he lingers. Aaron, ever cautious, doesn't say much, but he doesn't ask him to leave, either. John Sugden keeps his distance, not wanting to meddle, but his concern grows. One evening, he confronts Robert in the woolpack, asking whether he intends to stay or leave again. Robert's answer is quiet, uncertain. "I don't know how to stay when I keep expecting to be pushed away," he says. It's the most vulnerable John's ever seen him. Later, John finds Aaron alone and tells him gently that loving someone doesn't mean trusting them never to hurt you. It means trusting yourself to survive if they do. Vinny, meanwhile, has vanished. His sudden exit the night before the wedding left more than just Gabby heartbroken, it left Mandy frantic. She searches everywhere, asking anyone who might have seen him. Aaron, keeping Vinny's confidence, doesn't say a word until Mandy confronts him directly. Her eyes filled with fear and pain, she demands to know if her son is safe. Aaron finally breaks, revealing that Vinny is struggling with something he hasn't yet put into words. Vinny reappears a few days later, at the Haddock family home, asking to speak with Commy. They take a long walk through the fields, words slow and fragmented. Vinny admits he doesn't know who he is yet, only that the life he was trying to build with Gabby felt like a lie. Commy listens, not pushing, and finally tells Vinny something that lingers: "You're allowed to figure it out. Even if it takes time. Even if it hurts." Gabby, devastated but composed, turns to Bernice for guidance. Instead of wallowing, she decides to leave Emmerdale for a while. A job offer in London gives her the distance she needs. Before leaving, she meets Vinny one last time. She tells him she's angry, yes, but also that she hopes he finds peace. Her words aren't forgiving, but they're kind. They part as people who once wanted a future, now understanding they need separate paths. Charity returns home to a quieter house. Her recovery is slow, but supported by Mackenzie and Vanessa, who rotate between being caregivers and occasional comic relief. Sarah's embryo transfer is successful, but anxiety clouds her joy. Charity notices the tension and gently urges her to be honest, with herself and with Jacob. It's advice Charity should be taking, too. At night, Charity lies awake, haunted by more than just physical pain. She starts journaling again, a practice she abandoned years ago. She writes about all the lives she's touched, some healed, others broken. Her entry about Vanessa reads like a letter: "I still think about what we lost, and what we might still find again." Mackenzie stumbles upon the journal. He doesn't read it, but he knows what it is. Instead, he leaves a note in its pages: "I'll still be here, even if you need time." In a quiet corner of the village, Ross Barton makes his choice. He walks to Mill Cottage with a bouquet of yellow tulips, Steph's favorite. But the house is empty. Ruby meets him outside, shaking her head. Steph's gone to stay with a friend in Manchester. Ross asks whether she's coming back. Ruby doesn't know. Later, Manpreet sees Ross by the river. She approaches carefully, uncertain whether he's angry. But Ross just sighs. "I mess up everything I touch," he says. Manpreet, full of her own regrets, sits beside him. They talk for hours, not about what happened between them, but about what's next. Ross decides to stay in Emmerdale. Maybe not for Steph, but for himself. He wants to be better, and that starts with being honest. He begins volunteering with the youth center, trying to connect with troubled teens who might walk the path he once did. As summer rolls into autumn, Emmerdale holds its breath. The village, ever resilient, adapts to shifting stories. Dylan attends counseling sessions set up by Moira. April visits the dog he saved every week. Kyle starts asking questions about right and wrong, and Kane, unexpectedly, starts answering them. Robert finally asks Aaron out, not for coffee or drinks, but for a walk. Simple. Peaceful. They sit on a hill, the wind rustling through the heather, and Robert says, "I'm tired of waiting for things to fall apart. Can we just let things be?" Aaron nods. Vinny sends Mandy a letter. In it, he doesn't say much, but enough. He's in Brighton now, working in a bookstore, trying to live without pretending. Mandy reads it twice, then places it under her pillow. Charity, stronger now, throws a dinner for Sarah and Jacob. During the toast, she looks around the table, at Vanessa, at Mac, at her family, and says, "Maybe the hard parts don't get easier. Maybe we just get better at holding each other through them." And in the quiet after the laughter, in the glow of lamplight and distant music, Emmerdale breathes again, not with certainty, but with hope. Rain falls softly on the village as autumn deepens into the chill of approaching winter. Emmerdale, for all its scars and secrets, feels steadier now, as though its people have learned to walk again after a storm. But calm, in this place, never lasts forever. Dylan wakes earlier than usual, stepping out into the mist-covered yard behind Paddy's house. April stands by the fence, a steaming cup in her hand. They've grown closer in quiet ways, less dependent, more equal. She's no longer just the girl who tried to save him, now, she's the friend who stays when it matters most. Dylan tells her he's applied to a youth apprenticeship outside the village, something with animals, maybe a sanctuary. He doesn't want to run, not anymore, he just wants to build something that's his. April hugs him tightly. They don't need words. Back at the Woolpack, Charity is finally clearing out the last drawer that still held photos of happier, messier days. Vanessa walks in just as she's about to toss an old Polaroid away. They share a long look. Vanessa says, almost shyly, that she misses talking without pretending. Charity laughs, and it's not bitter for once. "So talk," she says. That night, over tea instead of wine, they do. Aaron and Robert spend their first weekend away together since the reunion, a quiet, remote cottage where the phone doesn't ring. In that silence, they find something resembling peace. Aaron tells Robert he wants to stop counting the mistakes. Robert promises to stop looking over his shoulder. When they return, John meets them at the village shop, and just nods in approval. Nothing more needs to be said. At Butler's farm, Kyle asks Moira if bad people can stop being bad. She tells him that people can choose who they are, every single day. Later, he finds Dylan in the barn, working on an old bike with Paddy. Kyle asks to help. They work side by side, not as strangers, not as enemies, but as boys trying to grow into better men. Ross receives a letter in the post. It's from Steph. No promises, just a postcard from Manchester with a note, "Doing okay. You should keep volunteering. You're good at it." Ross tucks it into the back of his journal and gets back to work at the youth center. A new lad walks in, rough around the edges, and Ross smiles. He knows this story. Vinny writes a final letter to Gabby, from Brighton. He doesn't say where he's going next, just that he's finally learning to wake up without lying to himself. Gabby, now in London, reads it on her break and lets herself cry. Not because of him, but for the version of herself she left behind in Emmerdale. And in one of the last scenes before the season's end, the villagers gather at the community centre for a winter fundraiser. Fairy lights strung up, kids running around, hot cider passed between hands. Charity is arm in arm with Mackenzie, while Vanessa chats with Rona nearby. Aaron and Robert stand off to the side, watching the crowd, smiling. Dylan and April help with the raffle tickets, laughing. Even Kane is there, silent but present, nodding when Kyle introduces him to Dylan again. Not because everything has been fixed, or because every story has a happy ending, but because they've all found a way to keep going. To keep loving, fighting, stumbling, healing. That's how it ends. Not with fireworks, but with a quiet kind of grace. A moment where no one needs saving, because for once, they've all saved themselves.